Welcome back to Citizen Extra live on Citizen TV. We're almost winding up the English edition. Kiswahili, the Kiswahili team will be coming up next. But before that, we continue to remind you of our big story. Nyeri Town Member of Parliament Honorable Gunjiri Wambugu has petitioned the Judicial Service Commission to launch a process to sack Chief Justice David Kenani Maraga for spearheading, quote-unquote, a regime change after the nullification of President Uhuru Kenyatta's win after the August 8th polls. But we're asking ourselves here in studio, what is the actual process by which you can, begin the process of removing a judge of the Supreme Court? And we want to show that to you just now. We did that earlier. Let's review that briefly, and those graphics should be coming up on your screen. First of all, grounds for the removal of the Chief Justice: inability to perform due to mental or physical incapacity. If you can show a proof that has happened. Secondly, if you can show that the Chief Justice has breached the judge's code of conduct, then maybe you'd have a case to bring before the JSC. Bankruptcy of the holder of the office of the Chief Justice, incompetence in how they carry out their duties, and gross misconduct or misbehavior. Now, the removal of a judge may be initiated only by the JSC acting on its own motion or on the petition of any person to the JSC, which is what Honorable Gunjiri Wambugu has done. In addition, a petition by a person to the JSC under clause 2 shall be in writing, setting out the alleged facts constituting the grounds for the removal. The JSC shall consider the petition, as you can see on your screen, and if satisfied that the petition discloses a ground for removal, send the petition to the President, which is what you're seeing on your screen now, and the President shall, within 14 days after receiving the petition, suspend the judge from office and acting in accordance with the recommendation of the JSC. We are showing you these graphics just to show you the procedure by which a judge of the Supreme Court or the Chief Justice may be removed from office, because this will obviously inform public debate for the next couple of days. We've discussed this quite extensively, but I want to give each of my guests a chance to give their closing arguments or their closing thoughts. I want to begin with Senator Linturi. So much that we've discussed. What should Kenyans be focusing on in line with what Honorable Wambugu has taken to the JSC?
Me, I will just tell the Kenyans to relax and take Wambugu's petition as his own, and it's not a petition that is supported by the party. Okay. Because I don't think we will do that as a party, because we understand what our limits are in terms of giving the judiciary is freedom to do what it does. And I really want to exonerate the President completely from it, because remember, even from his statements in the public there, he has said, I don't agree, but I'm being bound by this ruling. And that's why he's all over in the country trying to ask people to re-elect him or to vote for him again on 17th as president. That's a clear indication that he doesn't have an idea, he may have no basis, but the member of parliament for Nyeri is only trying to do what is required by virtue of his office or by virtue of being a citizen of Kenya, to express his feelings through the normal set out process in the constitution and the law. So it merits to be decided by the institution, that is the Judicial Service Commission, that has that mandate to do it. So we can just leave it at that and wait for the finding.
If we are to speculate, Mheshimiwa, Jubilee is set to hold a press conference in the next 45 minutes or so. Raphael Tuju, the Secretary General, if they touch on this matter and if they seem to support Honorable Gunjiri Wambugu, will you then be surprised by that? You stated right now that you're sure your party does not support Honorable Wambugu. If that happens differently moving forward, what does that mean for you?
Understand the context in which I'm trying to explain this, because, like, for example, you are telling me that Jubilee is going to have a press conference. You invited me to this show from 9 o'clock. I've been with you. Yes. I've not interacted with anybody. But you felt nevertheless. The Secretary General of Jubilee, Tuju, may have his own ideas, may have his own opinion. Okay. But I am almost persuaded. I don't expect the Secretary General to say that we give instructions to Wambugu to file this petition to remove Justice Maraga. That will be completely off the mark.
Okay, thank you, Senator. Honorable Kaluma.
More, nothing is more painful than losing a child, more so a child you sent to school to study. So allow me, before I make my last comments on this matter, to send my heartfelt condolences to the parents, to the school, and to the entire nation, because these were people we were processing to serve our nation better. My prayer is that there could be comfort, and my word of encouragement to the students who survived this tragedy is that they need to thank God they are alive, and to work harder than they were working before for the life that they have to serve our people better. Those other issues about what needs to be done, I think there is sufficient law for us to do the right thing. If we were in serious nations, Matiang'i would have resigned by now. If you were in serious nations, I can tell you the principal of that school would have gone home by now. But I know we are in Kenya, so mine is to comfort them and to wish them, you know, God's grace as we go ahead to recover from this traumatizing event. I've told you that I know the source of this petition. Mine will be to request the people of Kenya to remain eternally alert as this charade is being, you know, prosecuted, and as Maraga is being persecuted. And I would only end it by thanking for allowing us to give this senile, in my estimation, petition the publicity that you know, we have given it. I can assure you the thinking of the makers was that it would go under the ground and then it banks us. And I would request all media stations that we discuss, you know, such issues going into the future, you know, very deeply.
Okay.
But I may tell the people of Kenya that we may lose everything, but let us not lose the judiciary. Let us not lose the judiciary. Okay. Let us be alert. And because we have a chance to deal with the people who believe in nothing, including the Constitution, let us meet them on the next election date.
Okay, thank you so much. Joy, you haven't even had an opening statement about this topic we're talking about, but I summarize maybe your thoughts. You've listened to what all the panelists have said. Of course, you've been following what happened outside the Supreme Court. Can you go ahead?
What's going on with this petition is one of those things that I join issue with Senator Lenturi and with Honorable Kaluma. This should not be allowed to happen in a sane society. If you have a problem with a judicial officer, it should be a problem that is manifest to see. The judge does not sit by himself. He sits with other judges, and when they take a decision, they were taking a decision as a bench. So to single Judge Maraga out, to me, is trying to indirectly intimidate him. But suffice it to say, NASA has spent the last 1 week calling for the removal of IEBC officials. We have a culture in this nation where you have allowed politicians to take the national conversation hostage. And we were making fun with people on air and off air, and I was telling them, Kenya is like we're infected with a virus called politicians, where if they decide we are going to do things one way, the rest of us seem to be helpless to their whims and fancies. We need to get to a place where we respect procedures. If we're dealing with the IEBC, let's look at Article 251 of the Katiba. If we're looking at the IEBC officials, let's look at Section 58 of the Elections Act. If you're looking at the judges, look for something that makes sense. Let's not just cannibalize our institutions for the sake of political expediency. It's not only unwise, it's self-defeating. Because at the end of the day,
actually agreed with you on that point.
Yes, because at the end of the day, even for the government, like Linturi says, it's one of those things where the government of the day needs a functioning judiciary for them to do well. It is one of the arms of government. It balances out. So I would like to Honorable Ngunjiri may be working on behalf of the people of Nyeri Town and pushing an agenda that maybe his people have told him to do so, and he has the right to go ahead and do it. In my opinion, at this, especially when we're waiting for this judgment to come out, and when we are looking at an election in 32 days' time, the timing could not be worse. What we are seeing now, even with dealing with the loss of these children, we need to man up. We need to become adults. Let's not fight every fight for the sake of fighting.
Okay.
Let us pick our battles and let us do things that help us move forward.
Okay. Okay. I think I'll stop you on that point, Gabriel.
You see, the beauty about having a progressive constitution like the one we have in this country is to embolden it and to give the citizens of this country the will to exercise that which is written therein. For it to have clauses and to allow me to recall my member of parliament, that is a welcome thing to our democracy. For it to have space where you can impeach a sitting president, it gives credence to what we call modern day democracy. Okay. These are some of the things that are carried in this court, and it has been tried before. In 2015, we had members of parliament who actually started picking signatures to impeach a president. It is okay because this is what is granted by the Constitution. An MP from Nyeri Town going to the Judicial Service Commission to table down what he has written as evidence, it is what gives credence to our progressive constitution, and he's allowed by law. And that's why when we read things like gross misconduct and misbehavior, I read to the fact that we must guarantee him that which we have all agreed and signed to the fact that the constitution on this in this country is the document that reigns supreme. So when we give people powers to even read and understand the Constitution, we must also allow them to exercise their powers written in that particular Constitution. It is what makes this country as progressive as it is.
Thank you. Steve, our time is almost up, but I'll give you a chance to make a closing statement.
I think first, this is an indecent and undesirable approach to interfering with the judicial independence and decisional independence as well. But our role is not lost, because while we were this offset, I checked provisions of Article 160, sub-Article 5, that says that protects the judicial officers from liability for anything done in the conduct of their functions. Remember, it is the decision that he has made, that the Supreme Court has made, that is being impugned. And because of that decision, that now Honorable Ngunjiri seeks the removal of the CJ. In fact, even the President, under Article 143, is also immune from liability, both civil and criminal action, for things done as head of state. And I believe also Article 94 confers the same privilege to Parliament. So we rest assured as a country that indeed our Constitution has assured us that the people who are the office holders can perform their functions without any fear. But just to comment on something that Mheshimiwa Kaluma said,
I really don't have time.
I think let us not upset the foundations of our democracy, which is set on two premises. Number one is that our key institutions of governance must be independent, and that is ordained by the Constitution. Then number two, that the office holders of those offices must preserve that independence and act in a manner that is faithful to those offices. So far, I would not privilege an approach that is preemptive. The JSC hasn't acted on this petition.
Let it act first.
So let it act first. Instead of saying that it's political, it's divisive, it's appointed by the President, that for me would be delegitimizing that JSC before it performs its function.
Thank you.
And when they get discouraged and they say, listen, now that we've been delegitimized, why don't we then just do what it would expect us to do? Which is to rubber stamp. Will it then come up and say, no, that JSC needs to be revisited again now?
Thank you.
So I think that approach, we must privilege an approach that, gives independent officers an opportunity to preserve their own independence.
You have made your point, Steve. Thank you so much. That's how we wrap up Citizen Extra. Actually, before we wrap up, just a quick short question for Honorable Kaluma. NASA was supposed to meet IEBC today. That did not happen. Briefly tell us why that didn't happen and whether that meeting has been rescheduled.
It cannot fall upon Jubilee to arrange for us a meeting to meet IEBC. And so that we know is what is happening. Yes, it is Jubilee telling IEBC and permitting them to meet us. We will meet IEBC when it is independent and when it is treating us as a serious party.
So as of now, we know you're supposed to have a meeting tomorrow, IEBC, Jubilee, NASA. Is that still on course at 8 o'clock in the morning?
Yes, there should be a meeting between the two presidential candidates.
Yes.
It is not Jubilee and NASA, but the presidential candidate. I can assure you, in a proper, well-structured and meaningful meeting, we will be, and our presidential candidate will be in attendance. What we don't want is Raila going there and meeting Tuju, Chirchir and others who stole these elections. Don't have time for that nonsense.
I'll have to cut you off there because you're taking us to territory that you need to qualify. We'll leave it at that for now. That's how we wrap up Citizen Extra. Thank you so much to all my guests for finding time to be here with us. Senator Linturi, Honorable Kaluma, Joy, Gabriel and Steve. Indeed, many thanks. Honorable Kaluma, I have no words. We take a break now. Citizen Extra continues on the other side of this break. We'll be right back.